So the first order of business is being called to order. And the first part is the agenda. If everybody take a look at your agenda, we have a quorum, so we're good with the quorum. Can we first, 1.03 is motion to amend and adopt the agenda. Can I have a motion? Well, first of all, do we have any discussion?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Okay. All in favor? Anybody denied? Anybody abstaining? Okay. Probably, yeah, that's good. Okay, I'll just leave it there. 2.10, approve the minutes from the Police Commission meeting, October 25th, 2022.
I move to adopt the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, motion carries. Now we have public forum. John. I told you we were going to be quick.
Yeah, thank you.
He said he's got one for the juggler question.
Okay.
Well, the last time I did this, there was a clock going up there, and I was watching it, trying to gauge my remarks in 2 minutes, but thank you for giving me some time. I'm John Bosange. I think I know Stephanie, I know Susie. I don't think I've met anybody else here, but thank you for your work. I know what that work is like. I was a park commissioner here, and I've served on multiple boards and chaired multiple nonprofits boards here in Burlington. So I've got some experience in what you do, and I appreciate your work. I really do. I was here December 5th, and I made a presentation to the City Council. And I think I sent copies of that to you folks, and I distributed some there for you. And I also have a copy of a Washington Post article that I found most interesting. So I've been very concerned with public safety here in Burlington, and I'm concerned with two issues, and I want to ask you two questions, and that's it. And if we could have some dialogue in between them, that'd be great. First, I know that I've read the City Council is going to, at some point, maybe in January, vote to make the police chief permanent. I don't know if they have the votes to do that. I don't know what's going to happen, but in my presentation to the council and in the letter that you have in front of you, I raised the rationale for doing that, and I feel very strongly about it. So my question to you is, if the mayor calls for that vote, will the commission as a group endorse that and advocate for that before the vote? And what will your position be as a group in support of that vote or not? So I leave that question with you, and I'm curious as to where you stand with that, the answer to that.
I'll take the first stab, and the first stab is that we haven't had a conversation about it as a group yet.
Okay. Well, I hope you do, because as I told the City Council and several city councilors I've met with, business leaders and others in the community, that as a building principal, I'm retired now, never in my wildest dreams would I or any principal take a job with an acting superintendent. Never do it. I don't know anybody who would. And if we're going to rebuild our police force with talented officers, you got to have a permanent chief to do so, for stability and for a sense of confidence that the boss is going to be around for a while. And if he's not or she's not, then you make a change, but you have to have a full-time person. No officer is going to be coming up here with an acting police chief. It's not going to happen. If I was an acting principal, I'd have no credibility with parents, kids, or the teachers' union. No one would listen to me. And I wouldn't be able to do much. And I wouldn't be able to recruit good teachers because they wouldn't know if I was sticking around. So I ask you to consider that in your deliberations, and I ask you to really advocate for this. We need it. We're short a lot of officers. As I've explained in my letter, I've never seen Burlington like this, and I'm really scared for all of us. Second question is, I think there's going to be a ballot initiative to create, I guess I call it a citizens review panel or something like that. I'm not quite sure what the title is. And I've read all about that, Portland, Oregon, different cities that have done it. And again, I go back to the analogy of what officer is going to come up here if they have that to worry about, and if they can't trust their chief and you, all of you, to deal with issues directly and confidently. Again, like myself, as a principal, if I had to deal with a parent advisory council that oversaw all my disciplines, all my curriculum issues, all the different things I deal with, I'd never take that position. No principal would. No one. So if you're going to recruit officers, and I know you're trying to do it, and I know money and incentives are there, having that hanging over their head, knowing that there's going to be some sort of citizens review panel, is going to keep them from applying here. They're not coming. And not that they don't feel that they need to be overseen and they need to be, watched for abusive actions. They expect their boss and the commission and the mayor to take care of that. And that's our job, to do that. You open it up, it's going to be a nightmare. We'll have officers leaving, and you won't have any coming. So I ask you to think about what position you're going to take on that ballot initiative. Will you come out as a commission and come forward with a statement? And what would that statement be? It's very important, symbolically and practically. It's very important that all eyes will be on you, what's the commission going to do? What do they think? So I think your opinion and your voice is critical to answers to both of those issues. And I know you haven't talked about it. You will, I'm sure. And you'll be looked to for an opinion. And I hope it is in support of the chief and not in support of the ballot initiative. We need to do it better, and we can do it better. So that's basically it.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. And I'd be willing to meet with anyone anytime to get into more of the logic and the reasoning and the history and the debate. I know now is not the time, but thank you for giving me a moment to express that to you. And thank all of you for listening who aren't here. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, 4.01, Chief's report. Welcome, Chief.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much, Ibrahim. Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. Apologies for coming in a little bit late. The Chief's report, is it available to share a screen for it? Thank you. Terrific, thank you. Lovely shot of Church Street there in the midst of the season. If you could go to the next slide. Thank you. So I start each of these, of course, with this slide, just to sort of assume that sometimes people go to these presentations on the internet and are seeing them for the very first time. So to the extent that it's redundant to the commission, apologies, but I do think that it's important for the public to know that we are hiring. $71,000 starting pay. It's $100,000 at the top pay once this contract matures. And there is a $15,000 hiring bonus. There's a lot of things to speak for this police department. Next slide, please. We are currently looking for dispatchers as well. We are paying $33.64 per hour to start. That includes a temporary emergency bonus that will not last past a certain staffing number, but we are looking to staff up this very, very important component of our police department. I don't know why this is going in and out. Am I popping on it? Very important component of our police department. It really is our community's lifeline. Next. Thank you. This is our head count. We are at 62 officers as of December 1st, but we're actually at 63 as of today. We had a new officer, lateral officer, join us. Technically an officer who had been with us before, had departed for another police department and returned to us. That makes 2 officers who have returned to us. A third, I am confident, will be with us sometime early in the new year. This past Friday, we had 3 police officers graduate from the Vermont Police Academy, including the Academy's class president was one of ours. Those 3 officers are now in field training, and we are very happy to have them. We're hopeful to be able to bring a number of officers in starting in January on the books and send them to the police academy that begins in February. I anticipate 5 or possibly more. I do, however, anticipate some losses between now and then as well, however. My expectation is that on the 1st of January, 2023, this chart will say 63 officers, but by the end of January, it will be marginally higher. Next slide, please. So again, this is 62 as of the first of the month. It's, as I said, 63 today, but of those 62, 54 are available. This breaks that down. I've had a number of questions about this. In the holiday season, as people go around, we often, are at parties or encountering other folks. And people ask me this question. You've got 62, but you often say that they're fewer than that, and here's how it breaks down. There is both a pie graph on this page and also a numerical breakdown of the 62. There are 8 of those 62 who are not available owing to being on leave or injury. The 3 are no longer at the Vermont Police Academy, but they are still in field training and are therefore considered unavailable because they don't count as a solo police officer. There are 13 supervisors. There are actually 15 supervisors, but 2 of them are among our injuries or otherwise unavailables. So 13 supervisors takes us to 41. 10 detectives takes us to 31, 6 airport officers takes us to 25, and 3 special assignment officers takes us to 22. And that is what we have for patrol, 22 non-supervisory police officers. In the photo, you'll see a strong contingent of officers on the evening of the tree lighting ceremony on Church Street. That was driven by overtime, but we also see mixed among those officers, we see some CSOs. We see people who are in some of these positions that we're building that are different than just sworn officers. Patrol shifts, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. Here's a picture of our patrol shifts and how we're using those different kinds of positions and how they factor in. We've gone from 2 CSOs to, as you see in this graphic, there's 7. We're actually at 9 now because we've made some additional hires. And this talks a little bit about that. We have these community service officers, a component of our public safety continuity plan. There are 9 of them. We have community support liaisons. There are currently 2, but we have 4 in the hiring pipeline, and bringing those aboard fully sometime in the very early first quarter of calendar year 2023 will bring us to our full allotment of 6. And that is a photo of community support supervisor Lacey Smith, who is just integral to this program and has been pushing it forward. The 2 CSOs who are pictured, One of them, Akeem Brown, is one of the police officers who just graduated from the academy. So he transitioned from being a CSO to being a police officer. And the other person, Dominic Tenen, who's behind him, is going to be in the police academy class beginning in February. So we are using the CSO position as a proving ground for police officers, and it's functioning well in that way. Next. Thank you. This is the revised priority response plan. As we rebuild, we are not able to answer calls to the same extent as we once did, and I'll have some data to back that up shortly. This presents our priority response plan, and it's a grounding for anybody who's moving through this for the first time. That's not this audience, so I'll push forward. To tiers of response, this explains a little bit about the street outreach, the patrols, the detectives, the CSLs, et cetera. Next, please. Thank you. This is a picture of our non-sworn response and the ways in which it's grown. I believe this was, some of this was prepared for our November report, but our November report was published online but not presented to the public. This is a picture of what we are sending to different calls for service. And as you see, the non-sworn response has drastically increased over the past year. We really have built a lot of the alternative capacities that were envisioned during the tumult of summer 2020, when people were talking about making the department smaller, but building up other resources. This is our incident volume as of December 15th. You'll see that this year is up 16% over the previous years. It's actually higher than any year since 2019. From January 1st to December 15th of this year, there have been a total of 24,000 incidents. Of those, 16% have been stacked, according to the priority response plan. That means they're not getting an immediate response, and in some cases are not getting a response at all. An additional 10% have been referred to online reporting. Again, you can look back at that slide with a picture of the priority response plan and see the calls that are automatic referrals to online reporting. This is challenging. When our neighbors have called us in the past, the expectation has always been that someone will personally respond. And the default of the organization all the way through 2020 was, in fact, that we sent an officer to every call. It was very rare that for some reason a call would not receive an in-person response, and a timely one at that. That's not the case any longer. As you see here, there's about 25% of calls for service and our incidents that we are not immediately responding to or are otherwise pushing to online reporting. This is a picture of discretionary incident volume and a clarification on some things that have happened. Our incident volume this year surpassed last year's and the year before's, but year-over-year incident volume is down, and this displays that all the way back to 2012. However, a lot of that incident volume is discretionary incidents. It is vehicle stops by officers, which are largely driven by discretion. An officer observes an activity or driving behavior and intercedes. They're very rarely driven by calls from the public. Similarly, foot patrols are officer-initiated. They are not driven by calls from the public, although an officer on a foot patrol may answer calls from the public, but in that case, that foot patrol would be truncated, and the officer would then move from being on foot patrol as an incident to being instead on a larceny response or a retail theft response. So foot patrols and vehicle stops are means of determining the level of calls that did not come from the public, and they're a pretty good proxy. There's some other kinds in there, but the bulk of non-public calls, of discretionary calls, are going to be from vehicle stops and foot patrols. The graph on the right removes those from the total picture. So the graph that is shown on the left is with all incidents, and we can see that it rose into the middle part of the 20-teens, and then it fell relatively precipitously. And then what we see if we remove those discretionary activities is a much flatter picture. Not entirely. Incident volume is down inarguably. But if we look at that, we really see that this past year was actually pretty much in line with the years that precede the pandemic. Valcor incidents. Thank you. This is the hard data for the Valcor incidents, the selected ones that we've been following over the past year. I believe that next year I may add to the larceny category and include retail theft. It has not been currently included. It has only been aggregated larcenies. But I didn't want to skew this year's data by doing it just for December, but starting in January of next year, I believe I will probably add retail theft to those aggregated larceny. Next, please. Thank you. This is just a visualization of the exact same table we just looked at. The 5-year year-to-date average, taking the data from 2017 through 2021, adding it up, dividing by 5, and comparing it to the year-to-date average, the year-to-date data from 2022. And we see the percentage increases or decreases that are shown there. And this last slide is a sad slide, an unfortunate slide. This is murder in the city of Burlington. In the time since our last meeting in October, we did experience a 5th murder in Burlington. That is unprecedented. I have strongly reliable data in the Valcor system going back to 2012. I have good data that I have gone through and vetted that goes back to 1960, and there has never been a year in which we have seen 5 murders in the city. I cannot vouch for years prior to 1960. I will admit that some of the data for the years leading from basically the 70s and 60s I did as good a job as I could going through what we've got, but it's not computerized. But I'm pretty confident, based on what I've seen, that we've never come close to this. And that is shocking. Every single one of these has been resolved by our Detective Bureau. I cannot speak highly enough of the men and women led by Detective Lieutenant Commander Jim Trieb, who is a tremendous guide to those men and women. I can't speak highly enough of the work that's been done by detectives assigned to these cases. Each of these is a human life lost. Each of these has family members and loved ones who will mourn. Each of these represents a wound to our community as well. And the fact that detective unit has found resolution and justice in all of these, I don't know of many other agencies that have a record like that, cities that have that kind of record. And for shooting incidents in which a person was struck by gunfire, it's 86% in the same time frame. That is remarkable. It's remarkable. I'm tremendously awed and humbled by the work that's done by the Detective Bureau. Not all of it is the Detective Bureau. The men and women on patrol do this work as well. And many of these, almost all of these, are first responded to by patrol officers. And if those patrol officers do not arrive and follow procedures properly, establish scene security, protect evidence, corral witnesses, and comfort the living victims, then the work that the detectives do is much more difficult. Patrol does an incredible job on these as well. We had an officer graduate from the police academy early this summer. He has left us, gone to a different department. Frankly, this would overwhelm anyone. This is what you would expect to see in a St. Louis or a Baltimore or Chicago. To see this here, to be an officer who in 4 months of field training experiences more than half a dozen shootings and is on scene for at least 3 of these murders that I know of, that is just absolutely, that's a huge volume. It's been pretty tremendous. I am really hopeful that we have turned a page. I'm really hopeful that 2022 will be looked at as a nadir with regard to violent crime and crime in general, and that we are on our way up. I think we are with regard to staffing. I'm hopeful that we are with regard to these crime categories, tracked and untracked as well.
Chief, what has the department learned from these experiences of shootings and murders? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think they've learned that the way they do things is cutting edge and tremendously effective. The level of investigatory work that they put in around, a lot of times it's video review. It is working with partners in the system, including partners like the ATF and partners like the state's attorney's office and other local law enforcement agencies. The work they do with getting witnesses to be forthcoming, it has been I think it's been a validation of the work that they've done. The previous murders that are shown here, so the 10 that preceded the 5 that we experienced this year, were all handled in similar ways, and we've shown that even when the volume increases, our methods are still sound. What we have lost is the ability to focus on other kinds of crime. We have not been able to focus on certain kinds of pattern crime that previously would have involved the Detective Bureau. We have not been able to focus on burglaries as much as we once did. And those are, resource allocation decisions that are made on a daily basis.
I have a follow-up.
Sure.
So in the past, you've shared that some of the issues happen within known groups, and they're sometimes personality related and those kinds of things. Not that this is the job of the police, but is there anything happening in the community now that's addressing those standing issues?
Well, that's not true of these murders. Among these murders, certainly the very first murder of 2022 does fit a pattern such as that. It fits a pattern where known groups committed violence against one another. The next murder is a domestic violence murder that was a murder-suicide, and a third victim was horribly, horribly injured in that. The following is almost certainly, we believe it to be strongly drug-related. The one after that has nothing to do with those groups, but we are not yet certain of what drove the murderer to murder not only a person in our city, but a person in South Burlington as well on the same night. And the last does involve some members of the group, but the nature of the interpersonal conflict that drove that first murder was not a factor in that fifth murder. Certainly, I think being out late at night, causing fights, being belligerent, and causing disorderly conduct disturbances contributes, and people who aren't out that late causing fights don't tend to get involved in these kinds of incidents. But the interpersonal conflict was not a factor there. In fact, our perpetrator was a good deal older than the other participants, and right now we do not believe he has any direct relationship to those participants. And in fact, we believe that the person who was killed in that incident was not actually a participant in the fight that was going on, although he was associated with the people who were fighting.
Yes?
Could I go back to some of the other data? So you indicated there are 6 officers that are not available because of airport duty. My understanding was that the agreement was for 8 officers there. Has that been reduced to 6 officers being required to be at the airport?
It is 6 officers and a supervisor. So one of those officers is a supervisor. He's counted in that 13 supervisory group. The other 6 are there. We have reduced our footprint there a little bit, owing to we do not have a full midnight shift any longer. And we are experimenting with the fact that a single point of entry reduces the total number, but not much lower than 6.
Great. And secondly, you indicated there were 2 CSLs. Does that include Lacey Ann Smith?
No, Lacey is a supervisor.
Got it. And how much is this? So are there more CSLs to be hired per the funding from the City Council?
Yes, as I said, we have 4 in the hiring pipeline. We hope to have those onboarded by the first quarter of 2023, and that will bring us to our full complement of 6 allotted CSLs.
Any other questions? Any questions on Zoom?
Yes, I have a question. Can you please advise, Chief, the status of a new data analyst? Has one been hired?
No.
Okay. And just a comment regarding larcenies and retail theft. I think I would like to suggest that they be tracked separately, since we've already for the last several years been tracking particular types of larceny under that category. And then just a quick comment on discretionary stops. Discretionary stops, for me, I kind of see this as an open wound because we know we've had issues of racial disparities with some of these traffic stops, and we've never really put something in place to properly address that on an ongoing basis. So there were reasons why those stops why they were reduced, and the discretion based on information provided by a BPOA representative back in 2019 was for lack of a better term, a lack of comfort and not feeling supported if there were to be a lawsuit around racial discrimination. So I do understand the need for foot patrols and other discretionary decisions, but at the same time, we do have to figure out a path forward for success in addressing some of the reasons that those stops actually stopped occurring. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Anything more, Chief?
No, thank you very much for
Thank
the
you very
opportunity.
much. Thank you. Okay, so we now move to 5.0, Burlington Police Commission Resolution commending BPD in regards to gun-related events. And I'll read that. The Burlington Police Commission applauds the intensive and unrelenting investigatory efforts of all members of the Burlington Police Department in solving and bringing to justice those allegedly responsible, this was written in October, no longer allegedly necessarily, responsible for many of the recent gun-related events and resulting deaths. The department initiated, coordinated, and deployed a creative and effective new multi-party collaboration that expanded its resources and responsiveness during a spare time for the department. These successful operations involve the coordinated expertise and resources of the newly formed Chittenden County Gun Violence Task Force. This team includes 8 local departments, 6 federal partners, and 4 state agencies. While the increase in gun-related crime and resultant deaths are mirrored by the rise in illegal gun use nationally, the diligent work of our police is an important step toward decreasing gun violence and restoring a sense of safety in the community. The Police Commission thanks all of the police for their efforts.
I move to adopt the resolution.
All in favor?
I think you get a second.
Did I do it wrong?
Need a second.
Oh, I need a second, sorry.
I second.
Okay, Jack seconds.
Any discussion?
Now what?
Pardon?
All in favor?
I think you want to have some discussion. Do you want to have discussion?
What?
Discussion.
Oh, sorry. Discussion. Anybody have any discussion for this? This is my first time doing this. I'm doing my best here, so. Okay.
I just wanted to underscore the commission's appreciation. I think that in the current climate in Burlington, that this is, we wanted to give some public light to the work that's been done, and want to congratulate the department for the work that they've done.
I second, third, and fourth that. Okay, thank you. So 5.02. Pardon me? Oh, can we have a vote on the motion, please? Do you have a comment?
No, I just, are we going to vote on the motion? I'm sorry.
Yes, we're going to vote on the motion now.
Thank you.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? We go with the aye. Good now? Stephanie?
Just to say that we will be communicating the resolution to the City Council and the Mayor's office.
Okay. 5.02, review of Burlington Police Commission responsibility for implementation of CNA recommendations. Stephanie Seguino.
Several days ago, Commissioner Keefe and I met with Acting Chief Murad with regard to the CNA recommendations. The Public Safety Committee had issued its report and had asked the Commission to indicate the recommendations that it would take responsibility for, and the timeline. And of course, most of this is in coordination with the police department, and hence our meeting with Acting Chief Murad. So the document that you all see on board docs and the commissioners have, we've added 2 columns to that. One column is the recommendations for which the commission has the primary responsibility, and for ensuring that those recommendations are implemented. And the second column is the one in which the police department has the primary responsibility, and the commission reviews and approves any policy changes that the police department would bring forward. So the reason this is on the agenda is because for all of you to have input into this, and to reach some agreement so that we can report back to the Public Safety Committee with regard to the work that we have to do. I will just very briefly summarize this long document. The Public Safety Committee has identified revisions to DD 40, and Commissioner Keefe, can you remind me, or Chief Murad, can you remind me what DD 40 is?
It is quality control and internal investigations. Primarily, I think there's one other term, but it's how the department investigates complaints, and you may please elaborate further.
Yes, that's correct. The exact title is going to escape me, so I'm not going to commit myself to it, but it is Quality Control and Internal Investigations and Citizen Complaints. And it details how the police department intakes complaints from the public and internally, how those are then followed, distributed, investigated, and then the nature of the outcome as it is affected by the chief of police.
So the Public Safety Committee prioritized the revisions to DD 40 because many of the other recommendations depend upon DD 40. And so the police department will be prioritizing that, and will be working with Commissioner Keefe as a point person on that. In the interim, what we will be doing as a commission is working to revise the DD 13, which is related to mental health policies, and Commissioner Rao and I will be carrying on and continuing the work that Commissioner Hart had started a few months ago. So that's more or less. There are some other details in here, but I will just leave that as sort of a very brief summary of what the responsibilities are for the near term, really for the next quarter. There is more work to do after that, but when we sat down to meet with Acting Chief Murad, we focused primarily on the first quarter of work to be done. And so we're hopeful that within 3 or 4 months that we can complete work on both of those. I'm happy to hear from other commissioners. If you have any comments on this, I'll just take notes and listen.
Would anyone like to chime in?
The only thing I would add is, as Commissioner Seguino mentioned, the DD 40 touches on a number of recommendations, and it also dovetails with the complaints process that the commission is responsible to implement. So I think it's an opportunity for really good, positive collaboration to work together with the commission and the police to have a very efficient and transparent process for reviewing and resolving citizen complaints. So we thank the chief for that opportunity.
Okay. Anyone else on Zoom? All good?
I'm going to, if I may make a motion then, that the commission adopt this timeline and convey this to the Public Safety Committee. Is there a second?
Second. Any more discussion?
I just have one question. Stephanie, you mentioned the timeline. Do we have a very specific date that we had agreed upon, or is that something we can just kind of keep it like even to a certain date of the meeting of the commission?
Thanks, Commissioner Rao. I would say that we want to be done by the end of the first quarter, so roughly end of March. would be the goal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving along. Are we doing the use of force report
So we need to vote.
on this? Okay, can we have a vote, please, on Stephanie's proposal?
Seguino, we need to use last names.
What?
Commissioner Seguino, we need to
Commissioner
use last
Seguin,
names.
Sorry. Okay. All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? No abstentions. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Seguino. Okay, 5.03, use of force reports.
I think we have 2 months worth, so there's a fair number of videos. Unless there were very specific questions, it may be more efficient if we just follow the normal procedure and request specific videos directly from the department through email.
Okay, do we need a motion for that?
I think you just need to ask if anybody wants, are there any videos that they would like, and then you have to assign responsibility, but I'll help you.
Okay, so does anyone want to see a specific video? Any commissioner?
Again, I have a question. I'm just kind of, this is my first time, so I'm trying to figure this one out. I looked at the use of force report, and is the question that if I need to see a video, this would be the time to request it? Am I getting this process right?
Yes, that's correct. That's right. And if you do request the video, we would all look at it and have a conversation about it.
But it's not now or never. You can make that request anytime you want, Commissioner.
You can email me. You can email me anytime you want.
Okay. I just wanted
Even before
clarification.
this meeting, if you'd like.
And the good news is that we do have the redaction specialist hired. She's onboarded, she's in the department, she's learning how to use the equipment, and I fully anticipate that starting January 1st, we will be in compliance with the agreement we made with the commission insofar as proactively releasing certain kinds of uses of force.
Okay, thank you.
Video, that is, certain
that was
video, I
very
apologize, because we release every single use of force, but we'll be proactively releasing video of certain uses of force. I apologize if I cut you off, Commissioner.
No, I'm okay. I just wanted the clarification so that I understand the different steps. But thank you, Chief Murad.
Okay,
I
thank you.
would like to request number 4, if I could, please.
Would that be for the December report or the November report?
December.
Okay?
We can assign the videos later.
Thank you.
Thank you. Later on, we'll assign videos. Okay, 5.04, setting the agenda for the next meeting. There has been a discussion about potentially having a meeting, the next meeting in February on the 21st, to give us a chance to get reorganized with new people coming in and people leaving. Jabu has resigned as of December 31st. His babies are doing well. Someone can have a motion?
Well, I think let's have a discussion
Okay, all right.
about what people want to do.
So what do you think about that, commissioners?
I'm completely fine with that.
May I?
I'm completely fine with that too, but I suspect that we will still continue to work on the policy work document, even though we are not meeting in February, until February.
In January, yeah.
The,
Oh, I'm sorry. We're saying we would not meet in January?
That's the proposal, yes.
I guess I would be concerned about that because we missed our November meeting.
Okay, that's one voice. Anyone else have something they'd like to share on this issue?
I'm going to suggest that we delay making that decision for a few weeks and make it in early January. Things may arise that we're not aware of, but if it doesn't look like there's any, significant items for the agenda, one of the things that we routinely do, of course, is receive complaints, and it's possible if there are complaints that need an executive session, we can call a special meeting, but not necessarily a public meeting. So I guess I would just propose that we wait until maybe January 7th to make a decision.
Okay. And make a
Yeah, and I
motion.
guess one of my other concerns is, as we were just discussing moving forward on the policies, I think it's important that what we're able to get through is discussed publicly, so people, obviously, anything that's related to executive session can only be discussed in executive session, but just being public about what we're trying to move ahead on because of other things that have come up during this year. We're actually behind on what we should have already reviewed. So because we missed that 1 month already, that's where my concern's coming from. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Grant. So we need a motion?
I don't think this needs a motion. To wait, I think we'll just do that. I don't think it needs a motion.
Okay, so we'll wait till the 7th of January and then make a decision there when we know better where we are. Thanks, everyone. Okay. 6.00, commendations that have been received from the Burlington Police Department. Mohammed, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, good.
So we got two recommendations for September and October. I'll read ones came for October. The first one, 2 women affected by the vandalism spray in August. We did have an officer on our street around 20-30 minutes later, Officer Henry. He was informative, sympathetic, and all one would hope for. The second one, commendations to Sergeant Ross and dispatch and Sergeant Delgado and his team for their response to call from my house at 3:15. They're saying, I didn't go back to sleep, but I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate the fact that they dealt with this like professionals for over 5 hours in other parts of the neighborhood with abysmally few options. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, agenda item number 7, commissioner updates and comments. Any commissioner have a comment?
Commissioner Grant, you had indicated there were some things that you wanted to raise, so we set this time aside. And we identified this as the time for that, if you're still interested in speaking about them.
Yes, thank you. Just a quick comment about outreach. I had been doing a lot of outreach with attending NPAs the last few months, and also getting a lot of feedback related to that. I would like to see the commission try to attend more NPAs. I live in Ward 3. I was going to other NPAs that were outside of my personal ward, but I know that some of those NPAs would like to be able to see commissioners who actually live in their ward, if that's all possible with scheduling. I know sometimes with scheduling it's not, but pretty much all the NPAs are hybrid. So if someone can't be in person, someone can be available on Zoom. I did see Stephanie's Front Porch Forum post. I think that's great. I think it's really important during this time where there were certain attacks made against the police commission that we're not actually discussing public safety, that we need to be out there and definitely remind people to watch the meetings and to make them aware about what in fact is being discussed and how it relates to public safety. The other issue I had was just a reminder about the need for cultural competency. And we have talked a number of times about the issue of racial disparities. We have talked also about how members of our community who are non-white, sometimes there's a pattern of behavior that can be racially insensitive. And I was in a meeting last week, and cultural competency kind of came up, and I was talking about the concern about how we continue to be a city that is rapidly changing. We are really diversifying. And I was talking about the percentage of 35% of BIPOC children in the school system. And I was advised at that time that those percentages were really no longer accurate. And I was like, oh, have they gone down? And I was told they had gone up. And so I was sent a link from the Burlington School District from some of the reporting that they've done. This was a snapshot from October 21. And I just want to read off the percentages for you. This is showing, they refer to these students as members of the global majority. That is seen to be as a more positive, inclusive, and welcoming term. So this would be the percentage of students in global majority. Pre-K, 54%. Sustainability Academy, 58%. Edmonds Elementary, 52%. Integrated Arts Academy, 63%. Smith Elementary, 40%. Champlain Elementary, 39%. Flynn Elementary, 48%. Hunt Middle School, 35%. Edmonds Middle School, 37%. Burlington High School, 38%. So in 10 years, our city is going to look very different, and working ongoing on cultural competency issues and issues of racial disparities and how we treat people from different backgrounds is going to be more important than ever. So just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. And that would be it for my comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Grant. Any other commissioner like to speak? We didn't do that. Okay. So we're moving now into the time for an anticipated executive session. Okay. And prior to that, I'll ask if anyone has some agenda items for the next meeting. Any commissioner? Okay, seeing none?
Just policy updates.
Okay, thank you. So now we're moving
So,
into...
I'm sorry, just one other question. Commissioner Grant's point about policy update, does that mean that when we meet on, in the month of February, we will have to have an update for DD 13, which is what I'll be working with Commissioner Seguino. Is that correct?
It's probably good for us to have updates at every one of our meetings, just to kind of keep us on task and to inform people where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you.
Executive session. We're moving to enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA 313A4 to discuss a disciplinary action against an employee.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a second with the vote. All in favor say aye,
Aye.
or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anybody abstain? Anybody disagree? Motion carries. Now we have a motion to adjourn.
Just for information, so the commission will meet immediately after this in the Sharon Busher room, And we will invite the chiefs in after we've had about 20 minutes to coalesce.
Okay.
And the people on Zoom should expect a Zoom link. Am I correct?
Yeah, the Zoom link was sent to you already.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second, please?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Anyone abstain? Thank you all very much.